Hi, so I'm just going to do a quick hand analysis here of one of the games from this last Monday. When was that? That was June the 7th. So that's when this game was played, and this game comes from the regular Monday night game that we play, Scottish Country Fireworks. And if you want to see it, jump over to Twitch TV, Mark Magis, and you can watch him stream every week. Um, this particular game is ID number 555413. So if you want to go find the game on Hanabi.live and then follow along, you can totally do that. And you can just pay attention to the turn number that I'm talking about as I go through. And I haven't looked at this game yet at all because I was playing at the other table. But I just like to go back and check out what happened in some of the games that I didn't unfortunately get to participate in. And I have this delicious delirium tremens mm, to keep me company. So let's see what this game. Let's see what this game is like. Okay, so Pursued by Bear is starting out here, and if you're not familiar with the layout, um, Pursued by Bear will be the first person to act, followed by Owl Song, Iggy Two Foot, Slopter Spy, and Mark Magus. New cards are on the left-hand side, old cards are on the right-hand side. Again, go out and find the. If you would rather have a different view, then definitely like follow along with your preferred view. So Pursued by Bear acts first. Owl Song has there are lots of good hints to give to Owl Song. A blues clue to Owl Song to get the two blue cards played would be nice. A ones clue to Owl Song to get the this start working on this red one. It certainly looks like reds are going to work. Um, Pursued can see some purples, but not enough. And oh wow, and Mark Magus has three different ones. Hmm. So I think I think this it's an interesting choice. It's going to be very difficult not to use Mark Magus's ones. Um, so I think a red clue here is probably called for to Owl Song um, in order to pick up those, in order to allow for those ones to be clued later. If a blue clue were to be given, it's going to be a little bit awkward. It's going to take two clues to get to the yellow one and green one. If there were another player who had a yellow one and green one, then I think that could be an interesting line, but there isn't. Um, and another interesting thing to do would be to clue this green four here. Um, that would be an advanced play. So, and by that I kind of mean it's a joke. Like I don't think it would work, and I think it would be nonsense. Um, but it's it's worth kind of considering. Okay, so I think probably a red clue here to Owl Song, expecting that Iggy will maybe continue, maybe that Owl Song will play. Um, Iggy will either continue with the reds or clue ones to Mark Magus. That's going to be this most straightforward line. Pursued by Bear does this, clues red to Owl Song. I haven't seen what's happening, so what I'm talking about is just what I see as I go along. Here, I would expect Iggy to probably clue red to Thopter Spy. I don't see any better clue, and I would expect that just to temporize. That gives Thopter something to to not to do. So it would be a red clue to Thopter and expecting Thopter to not play and clue Mark Magus's ones. The ones clue is fine. Uh, the ones clue is fine. Thopter does have other things to do, so um, I would expect Thopter to give a twos clue to Iggy to get this red two played. Um, that's a little unfortunate. I think a red clue would clearly have been a lot better from Iggy just there. Okay, Thopter clues red, touching Iggy's hand. Um, this is an interesting choice. there's an alternative line here. This one forces the team to give a follow-up hint immediately. But an alternative that Thopter would have had would have been to just clue two and then allow someone else to clue red. And it might not be necessary. Like it might actually not be the right thing to do to use Iggy's red three here. So that's definitely a choice. This commits the team to using two clues. On the plus side, there are plenty of clues to be had, so it's not urgent. It's going to be a little tricky dealing with Owl Song's hand. Pursued by Bear is going to be forced to discard, and then Owl Song. So here, Pursued by Bear kind of has to temporize. So I would probably expect a five clue to Owl Song, or a discard. Uh, if Pursued were to clarify Iggy's hand by cluing the well, either three or two, it doesn't really matter which one. Um, Two is probably slightly better. Um, if Pursued were to do the clarification, that would put pressure on Owlsong to discard, and then this blue two might get lost. Um, I think I think I would probably here favor a five clue to Owlsong. There's a tricky clue to give, which would be a five clue to Iggy. Um, and Iggy might read that as saying, "Don't play the first of the two red cards that were touched. Play the second, because otherwise, why are you bothering? It can't be a save on the five, and it can't really be to play for the five. So something must be up." What does Pursued do? Okay, so Pursued clarifies. The clarification with the three is okay, um, but it's slightly nicer to clue it with the two, but for very, very faint technical reasons. Okay, so then it comes to Owl Song. Owl Song doesn't discard, which is good, and clues the five. That's fine. We see a red two get played. It's really unfortunate that there's no purple one. That's that's going to become a problem. That's going to become a problem. Uh, so Thopter discards. Seems like a reasonable thing to do. Um, I think a nicer clue here would actually be purple to Owlsong. Um, so if Thopter here clues purple to Owlsong, then Mark Magus has to think, oh, I must have a purple one in the next position. And then what's going to happen is Mark doesn't know which color these ones are, so Mark is going to play the purple one, which is the first one in Mark's hand, um, and then find out that it's actually yellow. Then it's going to be Pursued by Bear's turn, and Pursued by Bear is going to realize, oh, that purple clue wasn't a purple follow up on Mark's hand. That was a purple that was actually um, a bluff on Pursued by Bear. And so what that would look like here is this would be a purple clue to Owlsong. Mark would play. We can just show the drawn card. We can show what cards come in. Then Pursued by Bear plays, thinking it's the purple one. Owlsong knows that this is exactly the purple two, because otherwise Pursued by Bear wouldn't have played. And then, wow, wow, options, options. And the options here are a sarcastic discard. So it could go sarcastic discard, Iggy Two Foots plays, Thopter. Oh, the sarcastic discard's awkward there. It does because it doesn't get it. It doesn't get things going right away. It's pretty good. Yeah, yeah. I like that. I like that line actually. Sarcastic discard, play, Thopter spy clues, purples to Pursued by Bear. Then um, then Mark Magus plays, Pursued plays. Uh, Wow. Oh, you might lose the blue two. Oh, a blue two came in. So, I mean, there's lots of nice stuff to give here. Yellow to mark Magus, and the team is just rolling. Like this is just great. Like purple is actually going to be all the 2, 3, 4, 5 of purple are going to get played, and it's going to be pretty good. Okay, so that bluff wasn't given, I'm guessing. Instead, Thopter Spy discarded. Um, Mark here really has to play. When you're told to play lots of ones, you got to play them. Um, and then pursued by bear here. Phew, um, there are lots of cards that can be clued. Um, there's a purple reverse finesse, so the first thing that could happen is it could just be a purple clue to Owl Song, and that's going to get this purple one played down here. Owl Song knows that it's not really a purple one because otherwise it would have been probably clued before this purple five were clued. So that purple clue is good. Um, twos is a little awkward because twos looks like a save. Um, so I don't think twos is really the nicest way to go. Purple, so I'd probably prefer purple, um, and just get around to that blue two next turn. Um, Another interesting other playable things would be green to Iggy. That's a little slow. Yeah, I think the purple clue is called for. I'd expect a purple bluff here. The discard is fine. Um, it's a little difficult because Owlsong here. I mean, what's nice about the discard is that it really discourages Owlsong from discarding. Because sitting with 5 clues, it's probably best to just start cluing other cards. And the obvious card to clue here is well, is a purple finesse. is this purple reverse finesse on Thopter Spy's hand? Clue purple to this purple card. It's going to go play, play, play. Well, play, and then Thopter will actually clue this yellow too. So I'd expect a purple clue here, and that's given. And then Iggy. So Iggy should play here, but didn't. Instead, clued twos. That's odd. Hmm. That's really interesting. So Iggy's doing a save on Owlsong's hand, knowing that Thopter Spy can discard the purple two. And then that's going to protect the blue two in Owlsong's hand. Oh, no, I see what's going on here. Oh, yeah, okay. So what's going on here is that Mark still has this one. And so Mark is going to think that this one is purple. Sort of just for the same reason that I said before why the bluff would work. Mark's going to think that this one is purple. And as a result, um, that's going to get played first. So what's actually going to happen here, Thopter Spy might discard. Mark is going to play this one. And now Mark knows, oh, that's weird. That wasn't the purple one. I must have the purple one in the first position. So Mark's going to mark this purple one as a known card. Um, Pursued by Bear can then clue this green two in Iggy's hand. Iggy must be hoping that something like this exists. And maybe Iggy was hoping that the yellow two would get clued. That would work too. But then Owlsong has a discard, is the point. Owlsong can actually discard this blue one. Okay, let's see what happens. Thopter Spy discards, as predicted. Mark should play the green one. That happens. Okay. So Pursued's under a little bit of pressure here. The expectation would be, I mean, Owlsong knows that The easiest thing to do here is just to clue two to Iggy, because that will tell Owl Song, look, you don't have a green one. So you don't have a green one, you don't have a blue one. I really don't like this line. It's so much easier if that bluff is given earlier. So much easier. Pursued's under a lot of pressure, though. I wouldn't be surprised to see a discard, frankly. Um, well, oh, wow, I wouldn't be surprised to see a discard. Let's see what happens. Oh, misplay. So Pursued misplays the first card. So Pursued thought that it was a missed bluff and then or a missed finesse, and therefore Pursued also had a purple one. Hmm. It's kind of unfortunate. Could Owl Song have prevented this? Yeah, yeah. Owl Song could have prevented this. But doesn't need to. I mean, that seems like a very reasonable line. Um, I think that this two's clue is asking a bit much. I really think that it's just not necessary. Like, suppose Iggy here were to just play. I mean, this is a known red three. Um, Good news. Like like two playable twos that can now be clued, and this blue two turns into a discard. So Thopter Spy has lots of options. Like Thopter Spy can clue two to Pursued by Bear. Thopter Spy can, yeah, Thopter Spy can clue two to Pursued by Bear, and then when Pursued by Bear, and then uh, Mark plays, it's Pursued by Bear's turn. Pursued can see that 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 this is playable, plays. Owl Song clues twos to Iggy, and play just continues. This is going to be really really nice. Thopter Spy can clue purple to back to Iggy 2 foots to finesse out this purple three. Like the hand's really rolling. Okay, so I think this two's clue is overcomplicated. The two gets discarded, one gets played, one gets misplayed. We went there. Um, Owl Song plays the deeper two. That's a really nice play. That's a really nice play. Um, this is one of these moments where it's super correct to have read that if you have two twos and they're both playable, well, why is this weirdness going on? The only explanation for the weirdness is that the deeper two is the playable one. So I think that that's a great, like, obviously if the first two were playable, then Pursued by Bear um wouldn't have misplayed. So the first card has to be purple, so the second card must be a two, and it's not purple, so it's got to be playable. So it gets played. So that's good logic. Uh, Iggy plays. Seems fine. Um, Thopter. The next person with nothing to do is Pursued by Bear with that yellow two. So I don't really see any reason not to clue it. So it should probably get clued. Um, this is totally great. Pursued by Bear has a good discard, so this will get that discard. And probably, yeah, this will get that discard. Mark, oh, so now Mark Magus doesn't play. And the likely reason that Mark Magus isn't playing here is that when Pursued by Bear misplays, Mark might be unsure about this being this card being a purple one. Um, if that's the case, people are just going to have to fix it. It's just going to have to be directly clued to him to wake him up. Um, I mean, and not wake him up, clarify what's going on at this point. Uh, and I think a good way of counting here is that misplay of the yellow one as the purple one cost a tempo because it lost this tempo in Mark's hand. Cost but gained a tempo because it got that blue two played. But then probably also lost another tempo because it's gonna like another clue because it's going to require a direct clue to Mark. So, it lost like maybe I would say 1.75 in terms of like the free clues that are available. Yellow gets played, blue goes away, and then it's Iggy's turn. Iggy decides not to play, and Iggy instead gives a reverse finesse. I think Thopter here would have to clue the Mark's hand. Oh, okay. So Thopter thought this was a green four because it would be a save on the green four and discards, or a red four. It's a red four, it should just get played. Can't be a green four. Thopter can see the other green four. So this must be a four clue to play. So Thopter must think that it's the red four. But if it's the red four, then I see. If it's the red four, then Pursued by Bear has a discard. Owl Song has a play. Iggy isn't the next acting player, though, because Pursued can give this clue. Does, does Thopter Spy know about this card? Red, blue, or yellow? There's a critical one to be saved in Mark's hand. And if it's blue, this is a reverse. If it's red, you should just play it in order to get the red 5 played out of Owlsong's hand. Mark has a dangerous card in Chop, and if it's yellow, then something really strange is going on. Then there's a yellow 3 in first position and yellow 1 somewhere else in Thopter's hand. It seems very unlikely. I think that this should really be a purple clue to Mark, or a one clue to Mark would be great here. I'm terrified. Um, and now that means we have both blue fours touched, which is going to be awkward. Um, the oh right, and the green four gets discarded. That makes sense. At this point, Mark will have marked this one as the purple one, because there's no way that a green four would be allowed to be discarded if Thopter didn't think that Mark had something to play. So depending, we could kind of bill that to past actions in two different ways. We could say that two's clue originally that kind of went down this line has ended up resulting in a loss of 2 points because green four, green five are now not playable. A tempo, a clue, yeah, like so, and that has to be divided between the two's clue and the misplay. So I would say we're looking at probably each one of those things individually cost about two clues worth of actions. So now we're back to Pursued by Bear's turn. I would expect a direct clue on the one. Just make sure that there's no further cost. Yep, great. Blue gets played. Iggy Two Foots here should probably. Oh, so Iggy Two Foots here probably thinks that The first card is the blue 5, um, because Thopter knows that it's not the red, knows that it's not the yellow 4, and knows that it's not the red 4, because then playing would have been the correct answer. So, um, so I would be surprised if Iggy played the blue 4 here. Yep, that makes sense. Green 2. Thopter Spy is going to play the blue 4, and then probably now knows what's going on. It gets played. Pursued has to clarify the 5, which should be done with a 5's clue in order to touch the yellow 5 as well, which is great. Purple gets played. This game is definitely getting tight, even for achieving a 23. Why do I say that? Efficiency looks good. Pace is actually okay. 11 cards in deck, lots of cards touched. Actually, should be fine. Iggy plays. Thopter's turn. Well, I would kind of expect a 3's clue here. Mark has a good discard. Pursued by Bear is the next player with a playable card. I'd sort of expect a 3's clue here to Pursued by Bear. It's hard from Thopter's hand because Thopter can't see the yellow 3. Probably Thopter has to give the green clue to Owlsong to protect the red 5. Let's see what's going on. Purple. Oof. Purple is tricky here. So the problem with purple is that there are two ways to give this sequence. One way is purple followed by 3's, and one way is 3's followed by purple. 3's followed by purple is just better. And the reason it's better is that you can give the 3 clue this turn, but you don't need to give the purple clue until maybe 2 turns from now. Because it could be that someone could touch these 2 3's, green 3, yellow 3, for example. And actually, this is a really good point. Let me just show what this looks like. So suppose that this clue had been given as a 3's clue to Pursued by Bear. What would happen? Well, Mark Magus is going to be forced to discard. Just show what the drawn cards are. Pursued by Bear. Let's say that Pursued by Bear plays, and it's Owlsong's turn. Owlsong knows that Iggy Two Foots has a good discard. Thopter Spy is the next player with things to play. So this can be a 3's clue to Thopter Spy. So what just happened here? So Iggy discards. Thopter Spy plays. It's now Mark Magus's turn. Mark Magus, let's say Mark Magus probably in this case clues red to Owlsong. Oh, clues 5 to Owlsong. Little on discards. Discards is correct. Probably discard. Let's say discards. I don't want to get too deep into the hypothetical here. It's now Pursued by Bear's turn. Pursued knows that this 3 here is unnecessary. It's completely superfluous. So it can now be discarded. It's Owlsong's turn. Owlsong, I don't know, clues, let's say yellow. Let's say clues Mark Magus's 4. Because that's going to get everything played in a nice way. Iggy Two Foots here clues, I don't know, purple to Pursued by Bear. These aren't necessarily the greatest clues in the world, but you can just see how the sequence flows. Let's go back. It's a strange quirk. So where were we? This is the moment we were at where Thopter Spy clued purple to Pursued by Bear. Oh, yeah, this is the moment we're at, turn 36. So what's the point I'm trying to make? The point I'm trying to make is that if you clue 3's, you don't need to clue purple later. Like, you actually don't. It doesn't commit the entire team to ever using two clues. Instead, you only use one clue. You just use a clue of threes, and you get two things out of it. You get a three played, and you get a good discard. And you get that, and you have a reasonable expectation that that's going to happen. And if it doesn't happen, then you can always clue purple later. And when you clue purple later, you can clarify all of these things. So giving the sequence where you clue purple first is actually very forcing on the team. It's saying we have to commit additional clues and we have to focus on this particular thing. And in order for that to be a good value proposition, you have to get a lot out of it. Like you have to not have other things that you need to do, and you have to know that you're going to get to that five. And what's really dangerous here is that the team is currently on zero clues. The team is on zero clues. It's going to be really, really hard for someone else to clarify this situation before Pursued by Bear's turn. In fact, Mark here, if Mark discards the last card, then if Mark discards the last card, Pursued will have a clue, but Pursued will misplay and misplay the purple four, thinking it's the purple three, because this order here could be 3, 4, 5. So Mark has to think that it's a bluff. That what's going on here is that Mark has a playable card in the first position, and that card, it did just show up in his hand. So Mark must think that Mark has a playable card in the first position, and then is probably should play it, telling Pursued by Bear, you have an unplayable card in your first position, and you have a playable card somewhere deeper. And then Pursued plays the second card. That's hard. I think if I were Mark, I would play my first card. See what Mark does. Mark, that's interesting. Mark discards third position card. Huh. So Mark decided that could be clarified with a positional discard. I think that's really an interesting point. That's super deep. A real question here is that safe to do? Like, is it safe to just throw away the third card in your hand? So, like, Thopter Spy could be telling Mark, both of your second position cards are garbage. Well, is there a playable card? Could Mark's first position card be playable? It can't be a purple 3, can't be a green 3, could be a red 4. Okay, so if Mark's first position card is playable, made a mistake, 2 red cards and 14 cards not known. Okay? So what death cards are there? Mark can't hold the red 5, green is okay, purple is okay, and yellow is okay to discard. So it's pretty safe here to take a positional discard, and it's pretty safe to do it from either position. Totally reasonable play. So discards third position, trying to indicate, presumably to Pursued by Bear, play the third position card. Pursued by Bear misses it, which makes sense because that's at this point in the game, it's really hard to look for that. You have to really be paying close attention to see it. So that's a misplay. The good news is the other purple 4 is pretty protected. So it's a strike, but it's not the end of the world. What is the end of the world is Owlsong discarding this red 5. But that shouldn't happen. Owlsong has a good threes clue here to Thopter, so I would... Oh. So I would expect this to be a threes clue to Thopter, because it touches 2 cards and we get both threes played. I wouldn't... And yeah, because you know you're going to pick up a discard from Mark's hand. And you know that Iggy has a safe discard of the blue 4, because this is known to be blue. So this should probably have been a threes clue to Thopter. Probably. Maybe it will work out. 4's clue. So Iggy discards. Oh. Iggy discards first position. Okay, so Iggy knows that the first position card is not the red four, because if it were the red four, then a while ago there could have been a reverse finesse. So Iggy's discarding first position. That's exciting. To try and get the green three played. So Owlsong used the last clue here. Okay, that's unfortunate. What's unfortunate about it is that this clue is cluing a card where um, Iggy can't play this four yet. This purple four. So this clue isn't valuable until Iggy's next turn. And Thopter Spy has cards that can be played this turn. So it would be better to get those cards played. Um, wow. Now things are definitely looking grim. I would be surprised if a misplay doesn't happen because there aren't enough clues to save that other to save the purples. Okay, so Iggy pitches first position. It's going to be Thopter Spy is one of the players who's capable of really paying enough attention to know that. So let's see. Bummer. Discards last. That's a real bummer. Um, Not too surprising, but like Thopter knows which way is up, so uh, that could that could have worked out. Oh, and then Mark misplays with a strike, and that makes sense because Mark here is thinking Iggy's positional discard means something. It definitely means Thopter should play the first card. There's a question if, especially in these late game situations, so if Iggy had a clue, then Iggy could just clue threes to Thopter Spy. So if you discard first position, you have to be getting more value than just cluing threes to Thopter. Like there's got to be some other reason that you're doing that. And it must be to either generate an additional clue or to get more than one card played. And if it's getting more than one card played, then that means both Thopter and Mark would have playable first position cards. So when Thopter doesn't play, Mark has to decide, well, Iggy was clue constrained. Was Iggy just getting one card? And I think the answer is yes. Like that's a very reasonable play to do when on zero clues to get one card played. But when Thopter doesn't notice, does that mean that it that because Thopter certainly should have played, uh, even if Mark had a playable first position card. Um, and so because then you're getting extra value. So when Thopter doesn't play, it's still reasonable for Mark to think that the team is getting extra value, and then misplays for the strike. Okay, so that's a strikeout on 23, and I suspect that if this game had continued, they weren't likely to get. I think the red five would have probably not gotten played, and avoiding a strike on this purple three would have been very difficult. So, um, what do I think about this? What do I think? I think that there were a couple of plays that were too clever. Um, I think that I think that this two's clue here to Owl Song, um, I think it's just too clever. Um, I think that it would be reasonable to for Iggy to play, thinking that Iggy has a blue two, and the reason why no one else is worried about the blue two going away is that Iggy holds a blue two. I I think that if you look at this clue very optimistically, this two's clue from Iggy, um, what's it gaining? It's gaining a discard from Thopter against the blue four, and it's potentially protecting a card, but it's doing it at the cost of a tempo. So you're getting like you're getting 1.75 out of it net, and you um, you're getting 1.75 out of it net, and just playing the red three is probably worth 1.25. So that's like zero point 0.5 excess, and that it's hard for me to think that that's worth it, honestly. Because you're also losing because it's costing a tempo. Now, that this jumps to mind because this is a moment where I think um, Iggy was being maybe clever, and that had a bad result. I don't think that's why the game was lost. I think the game was lost because of the game was lost because of this sequence that led up to it. So this purple clue as a reverse finesse is a slow reverse finesse. And so it doesn't actually have to be given by Owl Song. I know when I was doing the analysis, I said like, oh, it could be given as a purple reverse finesse, but like it doesn't have to be given. And there's something that's um yeah it it doesn't really have to be given. Um, Mark Magus, for example, can take a forward finesse against, or Thopter Spy can do the same thing with a forward finesse against Owls. So this is like an example of a reverse finesse where it makes sense in the moment, but when you go back and you look, you realize that like you're not getting two cards worth of values from reverse finesses. Like reverse finesses are taking away forward finesses or bluffs that belong to other players. Um, and uh, and here, like a two's clue to Owl Song and a two's clue to Iggy, well, two's clue to Pursued by Bear, like these things could really clarify a lot of the sequence of play. And I think the best moment to have taken a different path is back here when Thopter Spy discards. So when Thopter Spy discards here, um, this purple two was savable with a bluff. And that would have been an interesting choice to diverge. That said, once this happens, um, so this line is entered, so that's a little bit of slow play. Like I would say that getting into this line is maybe, three-quarters of a point worth of lag on the game. And then uh, Iggy cluing, this is value if it works, but negative if it doesn't, and just too clever. Um, just too clever. Like a red four showing up would make this just not necessary, or a blue two in Iggy's hand, or any number of other things. Purple two gets discarded, and then this is sort of the lethal moment where this converts it from being just an awkward line where things aren't totally working, to now going like all of the value that was being contributed by the clever two's clue has just vanished. And it's not crazy to think that this would happen, like to predict that this would happen. Um, Owl Song, of course, does the right thing. And then here, I think there's a lot to be said for stopping the the clever line and just immediately correcting Mark's hand. Um, Whether or not you're choosing which thing you want to have be the teachable moment here. Do you want the teachable moment to be Mark should continue to play, or do you want the teachable moment to be like, well, whenever we make certain kinds of mistakes, we just expect to have to clarify. Um, Iggy plays, and then the clarification doesn't happen, and then that's certainly the 23. So that's the core of that. That's the core of that sequence. There's a moment here. I think this moment is really worth observing because this is a moment where purples are visible. Like one, two, three, four, five, all the purples are visible and able to be played. And so there's a real argument here that efficiency isn't that important. Um, that when we go back to Pursued's hand, when Pursued discards here, just give the reverse finesse against Owl Song. Um, like purples look good. Like don't take this discard. Like give the reverse finesse against Owl Song and continue. Oh, that's really hard though. It's really hard. It's just nicer if it's a bluff the round before. And again, like if the blue two, sometimes you're going to lose the blue two when you go into these kinds of sequences, and the way to protect it was frankly earlier. Like it just needed to be done earlier. Maybe even something as simple as just cluing blue to Owl Song and taking a strike on the blue one is not not that crazy. Yeah. So that's my take on this hand, Iggy. I hope you enjoy it. Um, I think everything that came after, like the main problems were all before that two clue, and then once that two clue happened, I think things went off the rails. And then everything else that came after looks to me like people were trying to be just a little bit too um, just ask for a little bit too much from what could be expected to come out of the deck. Like 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 these mistakes are all kind of contributory. It's like everyone on the team is just a little now on tilt and not playing quite quite right, And that goes up even here, this forest clue, which well, this purple clue followed by this forest clue. Each one of these things is another, half to three quarters of a point, and so each one is just knocking it off, like starting with a 25 down to a 24 point. Well, I'm really counting like excess clues. So like at the end of the game, you should have at least four or five, six clues excess, and when you lose like two or three points of clues on the first mistake. That takes you down to the one excess clue, then lose three quarters of a point, then lose another three quarters of a point, then lose another three quarters of a point. That's how you get down to like a 23, and then the misplays add up, and then it falls apart into this ending sequence. Okay, all right. Well, that's that. Iggy, definitely comment and let me know what 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 you think.